Welcome to DJ's True Crime. Tonight's story is about Maura Murray. One of the most creepiest disappearances I have ever heard. Let's get right into the story. A driver slows as he rounds a bend on Route 112 in rural New Hampshire. Up ahead, a black Saturn sits crooked in a snowbank. Its hazard lights blink into the trees. The engine ticks in the freezing air. There is no traffic, no voices, and no movement. A young woman stands beside the car. She looks shaken, but not injured. She refuses help. She insists she has already called roadside assistance, and they are on the way. She does not want the police called. It is bitterly cold, the kind that burns your lungs. Yet, she isn't dressed to walk very far. The man leaves anyway to report the crash. And minutes later, police arrive. The car is still there, but the woman, well, she is gone. There are no footprints leading into the woods. There's no sound in the trees and no direction of travel. It is as if she stepped out of existence. Her name was Maura Murray, and this was the last confirmed moment anyone ever saw her alive. 3 days earlier, life still looked ordinary. Maura Murray was 21 years old, a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Her life was structured around habits, clinicals, track workouts, studying, and phone calls with family. She was not reckless by personality. She was very disciplined, very competitive, and she was deeply private. And friends described her as the kind of person who internalized stress rather than showing it. If something was wrong, she carried it quietly. And that mattered. Because in the week before she vanished, stress began stacking faster than she could handle it. And no one realized just exactly how much Maura was holding inside. Now, Maura grew up in Hanson, Massachusetts, in a family defined by resilience. Her father, Fred, raised 4 children largely on his own. The household ran on a schedule and expectations. Responsibility wasn't optional, it was assumed. Maura responded well to structure. She excelled in athletics, especially long-distance running. Running wasn't just sport for her, it was controlled. Predictable, measurable, effort equals outcome. And that mindset carried her straight to West Point. Getting into the United States Military Academy requires academic strength, discipline, and endurance. And she had all three. West Point also imposes relentless psychological pressure. And eventually she transferred out, enrolling at UMass Amherst to pursue nursing. The shift wasn't a failure. It was an adjustment. But around this time, small mistakes began appearing. Not catastrophic ones, but uncharacteristic. And they also mattered later. Months before her disappearance, Maura was caught using a stolen credit card to order food. It was not a sophisticated crime, more impulsive than malicious, but it contradicted her personality. She accepted responsibility and faced disciplinary consequences. If people who knew her, the embarrassment hit harder than the punishment. She hated disappointing people, especially her father. Fred Murray remained a constant in her life. They spoke often. He trusted her independence, also monitored how she was doing emotionally. By early 2004, in February, He sensed she was under pressure, but didn't think she was in danger. No one did. Then came February 5th. Maura was working on a security desk shift in her dorm building. Sometime late in the evening, a phone call came in. Witnesses later said her demeanor changed immediately. She became very quiet and then became unresponsive. When her supervisor approached, Maura repeated one sentence over and over. My sister. Nothing else, just my sister. But she wouldn't elaborate. She appeared emotionally shaken, almost disassociated, and had to be escorted back to her room. The call reportedly involved a family issue, but details were never fully clarified publicly. What matters is the effect. Something destabilized her emotionally days before she vanished. And the next events, well, they came really quickly. Saturday, February the 7th. Fred Murray visited Amherst. He and Maura spent the day together, shopping for a used car because her Saturn was unreliable. They ate dinner. They talked normally. Nothing seemed alarming. And late that night, Maura borrowed Fred's car to attend a party. But at approximately 3:30 a.m., she crashed it into a guardrail. Police responded. She was unharmed, but alcohol was a factor. No breathalyzer was administered at the scene, a decision that later would become controversial. And Fred had to come retrieve the vehicle the very next day. For Maura, this was another heavy mistake in just a short period of time. Credit card trouble, emotional breakdown, car crash, each one manageable, but together they were overwhelming. Monday morning, February the 9th, 2004. This is the day that everything changed. Maura emailed professors saying she would be absent for 1 week due to a death in the family. But there was no death. She also contacted her employer and said that she would be gone, and then she packed. She didn't pack like somebody moving. She packed like someone leaving just temporarily. She withdrew nearly all the money out of her bank account, about $280. She printed directions to a location in Vermont. She purchased alcohol. She boxed wine, vodka, Bailey's, and Kahlua. Nothing illegal, nothing obviously alarming, but intentional. Her dorm room was left orderly. Personal belongings remained. She took textbooks with her, suggesting she expected to return. And around early afternoon, she left campus in her black 1996 Saturn. No one knew where she was going, and she told no one directly. For the next few hours, she drove north. Investigators later reconstructed her movements through ATM cameras and receipts. She appeared calm, focused, and alone. This wasn't panic travel, it was purposeful travel. Some believe she wanted a break, a reset after several stressful incidents. Others believe she was meeting someone. But by early evening, she was far from campus, entering rural New Hampshire along Route 112, a road that locals call Kankamagus Gateway, winding dark and isolated in winter. And at approximately 7:27 p.m., something happened. Her Saturn veered off the road, struck a snowbank. The crash itself was minor. But what happened after that is the mystery. Because within minutes, she was seen alive, and within minutes after that, she vanished. By the time darkness settles fully over Route 112, temperature has already dropped below freezing. Snowbanks line both sides of the road, hardened, uneven walls created by plows pushing weeks of snow outward. Forest presses close to the pavement here. No sidewalks, no streetlights, only scattered homes spaced far, far apart. And at approximately 7:27 p.m., a loud thud echoes throughout the valley. A car has left the roadway at the curve near what locals call the weathered barn corner. Inside nearby houses, people took notice. Not immediately panicked, just the unmistakable sound of impact in a place where traffic rarely makes any noise. One of the closest residents, a school bus driver named Butch Atwood, looks out from his home. He sees a black Saturn angled into the snowbank. He puts on boots and walks outside. When Atwood approaches, he finds a young woman near the driver's side door. She ain't bleeding. She ain't limping. She's not frantic. He later describes her as shaken but controlled, alert enough to hold conversation. He asks her if she needs any help. She immediately says no. She claims she has already called AAA. But there is a problem with that statement, because cell service in this stretch of road is almost non-existent in the year of 2004. Atwood offers to call the police anyway. She becomes more insistent, polite but firm, asking him not to. He notices something else. She appears cold, underdressed for winter night travel. And he smells alcohol. He doesn't argue. Instead, he tells her he will go inside and call for assistance. He returns to his bus, drives the short distance back to his house, and contacts authorities. From his perspective, he has just left a young woman beside a disabled vehicle on a dangerous rural road. And from the timeline's perspective, a clock has started. Dispatch logs record the call at approximately 7:42 p.m. Between impact and police arrival, the window is incredibly small, roughly 15 minutes. But the critical gap, the last confirmed sighting to police arrival, is closer to just 7 minutes. 7 minutes in near darkness, freezing temperatures, and deep roadside snow. While waiting, Atwood looks back towards the crash site. He can still see the hazard lights blinking, but he does not see the woman anymore. And at the time, this does not alarm him. He assumes she may have gotten into a passing car or is retrieving something from her own vehicle. Traffic here is sparse, but not non-existent. So he goes inside. The 7:46 p.m. officer Cecil Smith is dispatched. He arrives shortly after. What he finds is strange immediately. The Saturn is locked. No driver, no one walking along the road. No footprints leading clearly away from the vehicle, across the snowbanks, and into the woods. And inside the car, several items stand out. A rag stuffed into the tailpipe, and red liquid splashed inside and outside. Initially alarming, but quickly identified as spilled red wine. And there were other open containers of alcohol. Personal belongings, her phone, her keys, her wallet. Almost everything needed to continue travel is still there. Everything except Maura. Now, the rag in the tailpipe becomes one of the most debated details. And her father, Fred Murray, later explains he advised her to do this if the car was smoking, a temporary measure to reduce visible exhaust and avoid police attention after mechanical trouble. And if true, it means she expected the car to malfunction, which means the trip was not entirely spontaneous. But none of that explains where she went within minutes of speaking to a witness. Officer Smith canvasses the immediate area. No one answers doors immediately, no pedestrians, no tracks across the road. And the snow conditions, they matter here. Fresh snow would record movement clearly. Packed roadside snow makes leaving the road difficult without obvious marks. Searchers later emphasized this point repeatedly. A person running blindly into the forest should have left a track line, and none is clearly found, which leaves only a very few possibilities. She left in a vehicle, she walked the road successfully without being noticed, or she entered terrain in a way searchers failed to detect. Within an hour, police began treating the situation as suspicious. A young woman involved in a crash has disappeared into winter night conditions without proper clothing. Temperatures drop towards single digits. Survival time becomes limited. Yet no distress call ever comes. No nearby homeowner reports a knock at the door. No confirmed sightings occur beyond the bus driver's interaction. And the timeline, well, it refuses to expand. Every theory must fit inside those missing minutes. And the search, it began that same night. Already investigators face a paradox. The environment suggests she could not travel far. Absence of evidence suggests that she did. Because if she walked into the woods, the snow should have told a story, and it didn't. By morning, the cold has hardened everything. Crash site looks different in the daylight. It looks less mysterious, more clinical. Snowbanks are uneven walls of packed ice. The curve in the road is sharper than it felt at night. Trees stand tightly, spaced beyond the shoulder, dense enough to swallow sound. If Maura Murray walked into those woods, searchers expect to know quickly. Because winter terrain, it records movement. It preserves mistakes, and it almost never keeps secrets for long. Local police begin with the simplest assumption. An impaired driver left the scene to avoid legal trouble and wandered into the surrounding forest. It happens. People panic after crashes, especially when alcohol is involved. They hide, they misjudge distance. Hypothermia, well, it does the rest. Search protocol follows that logic. Officers check nearby properties first, knocking on doors, scanning outbuildings, calling into the tree lines. Residents report nothing unusual during the night, no pounding on the doors, no cries for help, no unfamiliar footprints crossing yards. That already complicates things. Because Route 112 is not wilderness in the deep sense. It is rural residential forest. Homes exist every few hundred yards. A person walking the roadway should encounter a driveway rather quickly. Yet no one reports seeing her. And by February the 10th, trained search teams arrive. Now the investigation moves from patrol work to organized grid searching. New Hampshire Fish and Game officers coordinate the operation. These are not volunteers casually walking trails. They are professionals accustomed to winter recovery searches. They know how lost people behave. They know how bodies are usually found in snow environments. And they begin where probability is the highest, the immediate radius from the black Saturn. Searchers move shoulder to shoulder through the forest, probing deep snow around tree wells, depressions, and drainage dips. Places where someone collapsing from cold might disappear below the surface level. But they find nothing. No clothing, and no disturbed snow. No broken branches consistent with a person forcing movement through dense woods. Nothing indicating someone left the roadway nearby. And then the dogs arrived. Scent tracking dogs changed the nature of the investigation. Human searchers look for visual disturbance. Dogs follow molecular trace. Microscopic skin cells, scent rafts carried on air currents and absorbed into surfaces. They are given one of Maura's gloves from the car. The dog begins at the driver's side. It circles, then it moves down the road. Past the bus driver's house, roughly 100 yards east. And then it just stops. Doesn't fade, just stops. In the middle of the roadway. Handlers recognize the behavior immediately. This is consistent with a scent ending at a vehicle pickup point. To investigators, that definitely suggests she entered a car. But there's a problem. No passing motorist has ever come forward. Traffic analysis becomes critical. This is not a highway. Vehicles pass sporadically. If a car stopped long enough to pick up a stranded driver, someone likely noticed. Police re-interview residents. They check work routes, commuter patterns, delivery schedules. Nothing. No confirmed pickup, no suspicious vehicles. And no witnesses beyond the bus driver, the very last person to see her alive. As days pass, search radius expands outward. Helicopters equipped with infrared cameras scan surrounding woods. Fresh snowfall helps rather than hinders. It highlights disturbances beneath the surface. Again, nothing. So, search teams widen grid patterns miles beyond the crash site under the assumption that she may have traveled along the road before entering the forest. And still, nothing. Investigators face an increasingly rare conclusion in winter disappearance cases. There is no environmental evidence she died nearby. And that doesn't make survival likely. It makes an explanation very difficult. Attention returns to the car itself. Inside, investigators catalog items carefully. Textbooks, toiletries, alcohol containers, some open and some still sealed. Printed MapQuest directions to Burlington, Vermont area lodging. Remember, back in 2004, GPS wasn't what it is today. Let's just put it that way. So it's not a random drive. It is a planned destination. But she never arrived. They also find something subtle. Driver's seat positioned far forward. Now her father, Fred Murray, later states he could not drive the car without moving the seat back, indicating Maura had been the last driver, which means no one else moved the vehicle after the crash. Whatever happened after she exited the vehicle. So investigators now confront two competing frameworks. Either Maura entered the wilderness and every search method failed simultaneously, or she left the scene in a vehicle. But neither fits cleanly. Winter searches almost always resolve one way or the other, recovery nearby or confirmed travel elsewhere. But here, evidence points in both directions and neither direction. The case begins shifting from accident investigation into missing person mystery. And from this point forward, every hour without discovery makes the first night that much more important. Because whatever happened to Maura Murray almost certainly happened within minutes of the crash. Investigators eventually realized the crash scene cannot be understood without reconstructing the days before it, because Maura Murray did not end up on a rural New Hampshire road by accident. She drove there on purpose. And the purpose, well, it's unclear. Monday morning, February the 9th, 2004, begins normally on the University of Massachusetts Amherst campus. Students move between classes, dining halls open, and the routines of a weekday, they settle in. But inside her dorm room, Maura is already preparing to leave. At approximately 12:37 p.m., she sends that email to her professor. She writes that there has been a death in her family and she will be gone for about 1 week. But again, there was no death. She also emails her work supervisor and says she won't be in. She does not tell her friends where she is going. She does not arrange to meet anyone publicly. And she does not officially withdraw from school. Everything suggests a temporary absence, but a very secret one. Shortly after, she begins organizing her belongings. Her room is not packed like someone abandoning life. It's tidied, almost deliberately so. Artwork removed from walls, boxes placed neatly on her bed, and books left behind except for study materials that she brought with her. Investigators later debate whether this indicates planning or simply habit. Some see preparation, others see a person trying to regain control over stress by organizing her environment. What matters is that she leaves with intention. So at 3:15 p.m., she stops in an ATM. Security footage captured her withdrawing nearly all the money in her account, again about $280. She appears calm, no rush, and no sign of panic. Next, she goes to a damn liquor store. She purchases Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, vodka, and boxed wine. Not party quantities, but enough for one person for several days. And receipts timestamp her movement. This is the classed, clear visual record of Maura Murray alive. Before leaving Amherst, she makes phone calls. One is to a condominium rental number in Bartlett, New Hampshire, a vacation area near the White Mountains. No confirmed booking occurs, but the call confirms destination intent. She is definitely headed north. She ain't wandering. She ain't lost. She is traveling toward a place that she selected. Investigators later analyzed computer records from her dorm. Search history includes directions to Burlington, Vermont, and lodging in the White Mountains region. The route she ultimately drives matches those searches. So the question shifts. Not where she was going, but why she needed to go there alone. Well, family stress may have played a role. You see, days earlier, she learned her sister had relapsed into alcohol-related trouble, something that affected her really, really deeply. Friends say she carried emotional burdens for people she loved, often internalizing them. Then came the car crash with her father's vehicle early Saturday morning. Another disappointment, another mistake she had to explain, another pressure point. None of these events individually predict disappearance, but together they form a pattern, accumulation. And people under accumulation sometimes don't run away permanently. They pause life, they disappear briefly, and then they reset. Investigators begin considering possibility Maura intended a short private retreat, a few days alone before returning to her responsibilities. That theory fits almost everything except what happened after the crash. Because if this was a voluntary getaway, she should have contacted someone once safe. She never used her bank card again, never accessed her emails, never contacted her family, and never appeared at any lodging that she had searched. Her phone activity stops completely near the crash location. The break she planned never actually began. It ended at the roadside. The timeline now becomes stark. She prepares carefully. She drives hours north. She survives a minor crash. She speaks to a witness. 7 minutes later, she's gone. And every action before the crash shows planning, while everything after suggests interruption, which raises the central question investigators cannot escape. What changed between the moment she refused help and the moment that she vanished? You see, when a person disappears without physical evidence, investigators turn to their relationships. Not because loved ones are automatically suspects, but because behavior creates context. People reveal direction long before they reveal location. And in Maura Murray's case, people around her had as many questions as they did answers. Her father, Maura Murray, learns she is missing after police connect the crash Saturn to him. He drives to New Hampshire immediately, and from the beginning does not believe she intentionally vanished. Fred knows his daughter's habits. Disciplined, structured, attached to family even when stressed. A temporary break? Maybe. Disappearing forever? No. He begins retracing her last known movements himself, walking stretches of Route 112, knocking on doors, and trying to think like she would think. Over time, he becomes both advocate and investigator, convinced something happened after the crash and not before it. Attention then shifts to her boyfriend, Bill Rausch. At the time, he is stationed within the military in Oklahoma. Phone records show repeated calls between them in the days leading up to her disappearance. Nothing openly alarming, but enough emotional tension that investigators, well, they want some context. And when he learns she is missing, he flies to New Hampshire and participates immediately in the search. Early public speculation focuses on him largely because in missing person cases, intimate partners are statistically examined first. But the timeline constraints quickly emerge. He is hundreds of miles away at the time of the crash. Travel records, phone logs, and military obligations place him elsewhere. Investigators continue speaking with him, but the geography does not place him on Route 112 that night. So attention widens again. Friends at UMass provide another layer. They describe Maura as stressed, but not capable of self-inflicted harm. She had future plans, clinical rotation, schoolwork, running goals. She spoke about getting away briefly, but not disappearing permanently. And one friend recalls she seemed overwhelmed by recent mistakes. Credit card incident, car crash, and just in general letting people down. Embarrassment appears repeatedly in descriptions. Not fear, not paranoia, just embarrassment. And that emotional distinction becomes important because it frames motive. A person escaping shame behaves differently than a person escaping danger. And yet, she never reaches the place she was driving towards. Investigators revisit the bus driver, Butch Atwood. His account remains consistent across all of his interviews. He saw a young woman. She refused the police. She seemed coherent. and he left to call for help, and minutes later, she was gone. He passes polygraph test and cooperates extensively. Nothing ever places him beyond witness status. Still, his encounter becomes the last anchor point in reality, a final confirmed interaction before uncertainty began. The residents along Route 112 are interviewed repeatedly in the early days. One neighbor reports seeing a police SUV nose-to-nose with the Saturn before official arrival time. They claim it fuels later debate about response timing. Others report no unusual sounds, no screams, no speeding vehicle immediately after the crash. The silence becomes part of the mystery, because violence, especially outdoors in winter, usually leaves auditory traces, but no one hears any. The case now divides into two investigative directions. Someone she knew arranged to meet her, possibilities suggested by her purposeful drive north, or someone she didn't know encountered her after the crash, a random opportunity created by isolation. There is no evidence proving either, but investigators must consider both equally. And as days turn into weeks, the absence of activity becomes its own evidence. No ransom attempt, no identity usage, no confirmed sighting, and no digital trace. Whoever last saw Maura Murray after that 7-minute window, well, they never, ever revealed themselves. Her family continues searching long after official efforts scaled back. Posters spread across all of New England. Volunteers walk woods season after season, and winter turns to spring and then back again. And Route 112 returns to quiet, the same quiet that existed before that crash. Except the silence now feels different, because it holds a question nobody has answered. Did Maura Murray leave with someone she trusted, or with someone she shouldn't have? Folks, almost 2 decades later, Maura Murray's disappearance remains a puzzle. Investigators, amateur sleuths, and family have constructed theories, some plausible, some speculative, but none fully explain her fate. Theory 1, voluntary disappearance. Some suggest Maura planned her own escape. Evidence supporting this includes her careful preparation, printing maps, drawing cash, packing personal items, purchasing alcohol. She left a coherent, organized dorm room, seemingly ready for a short trip. Yet, major elements work against this idea. She was emotionally stressed, but she had obligations, school, work, and a future in nursing. Leaving permanently would have meant abandoning everything she had worked for, including relationships with family and friends. She was not known to be impulsive to this degree. Moreover, crash and the 7-minute window complicate this theory. If she intended to disappear voluntarily, why vanish immediately after a minor accident, in extreme cold, in rural terrain without notifying anyone? Voluntary disappearance seems incomplete, a theory that explains planning, not the disappearance. Theory 2, accidental exposure. Winter in northern New Hampshire is unforgiving. Temperatures in February can fall well below zero, with wind chills that accelerate hypothermia. One possibility, that Maura wandered into the woods after the crash, became disoriented, and succumbed to exposure. Search teams, including scent dogs, grid searches, and infrared scans, failed to locate any trace. Winter conditions preserve footprints, scent, and clothing. And yet, none of these indicators were ever found. And if exposure were the cause, it would have to had occur in a precise location where snow and terrain conspired to hide evidence which seems statistically improbable. And Theory 3, vehicle pickup and or abduction. The 7-minute window and scent dog behavior support the possibility she entered another vehicle. This could have been a random opportunity, someone passing along Route 112, or someone she knew and trusted, which that far away from home, highly unlikely. Problem: no confirmed witnesses ever saw another vehicle at the crash site. Local traffic is sparse, but not absent. Residents report nothing unusual. No one came forward at the time. Furthermore, if abduction occurred, why was there no ransom attempt, no communication, and no claims of responsibility? This leaves the scenario plausible, frustratingly hollow in evidence. And Theory 4, criminal exploitation or encounter. Some theorists speculate that she was targeted by a predator, a calculated opportunity created by isolation on a rural road. This aligns with the understanding of highway encounters in remote areas. Yet, no crime scene evidence supports this. Nothing from the vehicle, no tracks, no tools left behind, and no suspects have ever been confirmed. This theory, like the others, explains some elements, fails to fully reconcile the timeline, the lack of footprints, and her sudden disappearance. Ultimately, Route 112, Kankanagus Gateway, becomes a character in its own right. Winding, dark, snowbound in February, it is easy to vanish into, yet paradoxically, it leaves evidence for almost every misstep. Maura Murray's disappearance defies that natural expectation. Vehicle, the witness, grid searches, all indicate that something occurred, nothing concrete remains. The case is defined as much by what did not happen as by what did. No body discovered, no crime confirmed, and no sighting verified. Her father, Fred Murray, and Maura's siblings continue to seek answers. Friends reflect on her life, structured, driven, warm, and private person that she was. They are left with what-ifs, and a whole lot of them. A 7-minute gap, the choice to leave the car, the journey north, all are frozen in time. It is a story that exists both in fact and in speculation. Reminds us just how quickly ordinary life can fracture, and how elusive the line between decision and accident can be. Maura Murray is more than a mystery. She is a person whose story continues to resonate in families and investigators and in the minds of those drawn to unsolved cases. And that is exactly why that I do these videos on YouTube, to keep that person's name in all of our minds and never let that person be forgotten. And in conclusion, her disappearance remains unsolved. Questions linger. Did she leave voluntarily? Did she encounter someone? Did the woods swallow her? Or was it a combination of chance, planning, and misfortune? The road that she took that night, crashed 7 minutes, vanishing, is etched into New Hampshire history. And nearly 20 years later, cold February air along Route 112 holds the same silence that met the bus driver on that fateful night. And to this day, Maura Murray remains gone.